Hello, welcome back to the TechNet vlog. The last time we looked at something interesting, and that was on we started with elicitation and collaboration. That's the second knowledge area, and we looked at how you can prepare for elicitation, right? And today we are going to look at conduct elicitation. So you are looking at how you are going about to meet with your stakeholders and draw out those ideas or their requirements. And remember, you've already prepared for this elicitation. Now you have a plan, the elicitation activity plan. So how you're going to engage your stakeholders, the logistics, the materials you're going to use and all whatnot. Okay. That will form your input for your conduct elicitation. And now looking at your elements for conduct elicitation, it will be guide elicitation activity, and capture elicitation outcomes. And then your output will be elicitation result, unconfirmed. Yeah, because you're just getting this result, you're just trying to clean it up. You are still going to push it back to the stakeholders for them to confirm if this is correct or not, if you've left out stuffs and all whatnot before you move on to the next thing. Okay, so for your business analysis, elicitation, and collaboration, that is your conduct elicitation. The outline would be the purpose, the description, the input, the element, guidelines and tools, techniques, stakeholders, and output. Now, let us go right into it. So, conduct elicitation. Let's see here. Now, what is the purpose? The purpose of conduct elicitation is to draw out, explore, and identify information relevant to the change. I'm so excited about this, so don't mind me. So the purpose of this is for you to draw out. If you notice, IIBA is not telling you for you to lead, for you to like facilitate, they're telling you you have to draw out. From who? Your stakeholders. You have to draw out whether it is you are doing a research, you have to draw out from whatever you are researching on, like the materials. If it's an experiment, you have to draw out. Okay, and identify. So when you've explore. So when you've drawn out the requirement from your stakeholders, okay, you've had that brainstorming section or workshop and stuff like that, and they're giving you ideas, they are coming up with stuff. You've already like provided them materials, you've already given them a heads up of the expectation and all whatnot. And now you guys are having your own minds, okay, and you are now drawing out the relevant information you require from them. And remember, whenever you have people like your stakeholders coming up with something that is not within scope, you take that to the parking lot diplomatically. So when you're now drawing out, you explore. Okay, we have all these good ideas. Okay, let us explore them. Let us like look deep dive into them and know which one would be of importance or will be relevant to what we want to do with it. Right, and then you identify information relevant to the change. Good. So I hope we're all on the same page. Now, description. For description, let me reduce our page a little bit. So for description, there are three common types of elicitation. Okay? Collaborative, research, experiment. Now, for collaborative, involves direct interaction with stakeholders and relies on their experiences, expertise, and judgment. So when it comes to collaborative, it's kind of putting heads together. You have one or two or more people, brainstorming, talking about stuff. So it tells you that this is whereby you have to interact with your stakeholders. And remember I said that your elicitation activity plan is not a one-man show. Even if you're not drawing it out from your stakeholders, you are getting it from research and stuff like that. It's not something you just sit down and decide on your own. Okay, so involves direct interaction with your stakeholders and relies on their experiences. So you are not only getting like their feedback or what they need and stuff, you are also relying on their experiences. Okay, you want this way. How is it currently? How do you see the system functioning right now? Like share your experience with us. Okay, have you used this method somewhere else, or have you used this solution somewhere else? You are now relying on the experiences to learn, because we are all learning, and their expertise, whether it's your SME or your sponsor or whatnot. And remember, your SME, I'm talking about expertise here, is a person using the system that knows the in and out of the system and stuff like that. So you are relying on what they know, okay? And their judgment. At the end of the day, what do they decide? Okay, so you are relying on your stakeholders when it comes to collaborative, common being a common type of elicitation method. Now, research. This involves systematically discovering and studying information from materials or sources that are not directly known by stakeholders involved in the change. So, when it comes to your research, this is systematic, okay? And it has to do with discovering and studying, like digging deep into those information files, and maybe whether it's past or present, or going online to look at, okay, for example, oh, we need a system, a security solution, and you are going online to see, okay, are there vendors that offer or can provide these services to the establishment that you are trying to, bring a solution to, and you explore them, and you're like, okay, this vendor does this, does that, the other vendor can bring this to the table and stuff like that. So these are not known by your stakeholders, okay? So, or sources that are not directly known by stakeholders involved in the change. Now, stakeholder, and also it could also be, your research could also be maybe your other stakeholders you've worked in the past with. You are trying to go out of your way to, interact with them on a project that you are working on. Okay, stakeholders might still participate in the research. You may still bring your stakeholders on board. Research can include data analysis of historical data to identify trends or past results. Now, experiment involves identifying information that could not be known without some sort of controlled tests. I will explain this. Some information cannot be drawn from people or documents, which is so obvious. So now, when it comes to experiment, you can rely on, okay, only maybe someone's knowledge, only on your research, but there are stuffs, or there are information, or there are scenarios that you need to recreate, and you look at it critically and be like, okay, we are trying to have this solution, and we have this, like, this look alike. Okay, so let us test it and know if it would give us like something close to what we are looking for, so that we can be able to, extract whatever we are looking for from it, base our knowledge, base our experience on what we have seen, to make a decision. Or this is what I can take to business to, take a decision or make an approval. Okay, so that they would have an idea of where you guys are going. For example, I know, in Scrum, whereby I've forgotten what we call it, but when you, like, a business needs a solution, the developer puts something together, and they will demo, like, okay, this is something close to what you need, or is this something close to what you need, or this is what we have in mind to be something close to what you need. So some information cannot be drawn from people or documents. Yes, they need to be practical. They need to see it, feel it, and so, because it is unknown, and some are even unknown. Experiments can help discover this kind of information. Experiments include observational studies, like maybe you even go to field to observe. Or if another thing is this, if you have a system that is let's say, is something you are looking for already, and maybe another company or another business, they're already making use of it, you can have a demo of that as well. Okay, so experiment can help discover this kind of some information cannot be drawn from people or documents because it is unknown. Experiments can help discover this kind of information. Experiments can include observational studies, proof of concept, like I mentioned before, and prototypes. Okay, so now one or more illustration techniques may be used to produce the desired outcome within the scope of illustration. So, telling you that it mustn't be like, oh, it has to be collaborative only, it has to be experimental only, it has to be research only. You can combine them to get what you need. And I hope we understood, we got where I was going when it comes to observational studies, proof of concept, and prototypes. If not, you can also like further research on that. But just to know that proof of concept is like when you want to build something like, okay, for example, when a vendor tries to help you with a solution or try to bring about a solution, and they are trying to explain it to you, and you be like, okay, have you done this before? They'll be like, okay, yes, can you show us? Okay, so that you would have some level of confidence that they can deliver. Okay, and prototype, just like I mentioned, is having something close to what you need being demoed to you so that you can make your judgment or make your decision from that. So now, stakeholders may collaborate in elicitation by participating and interacting during elicitation activity and researching, studying, and providing feedback on documents, systems, models, and interfaces. Now, input, elicitation activity plan. Yes, remember, you've already built that from your prepare for elicitation. This includes the planned elicitation activities and techniques, activity logistics, for example, date, time, location, resources, agenda, and scope of elicitation activity, and available sources of background information. Now, conduct elicitation input and output diagram. So the input is your activity plan, and the guidelines and tools will be business analysis approach. So if you know the approach you are taking it from, so you know what is entailed or what is expected. Existing business analysis information, is there existing information already that you can build off of, and you can even like research on and stuff like that can help you. Stakeholder engagement approach, you know how you would approach your stakeholder. Supporting materials, then conduct elicitation. Your output will be elicitation results unconfirmed. Tags using this output will be your confirming elicitation results. Now let's move into the elements. Guide elicitation activity. That is your number one element. Understanding the proposed representation of business analysis information, which were defined in planning, helps ensure that the elicitation activities are focused on producing the intended information at the desired level of detail. Let me take this again. Understanding the proposed representation of business analysis information. You have an understanding of whatever that is being represented of business analysis information, which were defined in planning. So you understand what is needed. And this was defined during your planning stage. Helps you to ensure that the elicitation activity plans are focused on producing the intended information at the desired level of detail. So you first of all make sure that you understand what is expected or the information that has been given to you. This would help you make sure that or ensure that whatever output you are getting at the end of the day is aligned with whatever plan you have made. This applies to each instance of an elicitation activity throughout a change and may vary based on the activity. In order to help guide and facilitate towards expected outcomes, business analysts consider the elicitation activity goals and agenda. What is the goal and agenda of this elicitation? Okay. Scope of the change. What is the scope? What should we cover? What shouldn't we touch? And stuff like that. What forms of output the activity will generate? What other representations the activity results will support. So apart from this, are there other things whatever we are doing would support? How the output integrates into what is already known. Who provides the information? Who will use the information? And how the information will be used? While most of these are considered when planning for elicitation activity, they are also all important while performing the elicitation activity in order to keep it on track and achieve its goal. For example, stakeholders might have discussions that are out of scope for the activity or change. Remember, I mentioned this. And the business analyst needs to recognize that in the moment to determine the next step, either acknowledge it and continue or guide conversation differently or guide the conversation differently. The business analyst also uses this information to determine when there has been sufficient elicitation in order to stop the activity. Yeah, just like I mentioned, diplomatically bring us back when people are, veering off. Okay. And at times, that's why meetings should be time bound. At times, like maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes highest, you are done for that section of the day so that people will not wear out and stuff. And, when you keep your meetings in check, this helps in such a way that you know that, okay, you have time management and you know that you've gotten enough information that is necessary. You just close the meeting for another day. Okay. So that you don't have to like have some conversations that are not necessary. Number two element is capture elicitation outcomes. Conducting elicitation is frequently iterative and takes place in a series of sections. So it is not a one thing and it's iterative. It's one after the other and builds up in parallel or in sequence. Okay. According to the scope of elicitation activity, see prepare for elicitation. If the elicitation activity is unplanned, outcomes are captured and integrated into appropriate planned outcomes. Remember, even though it's unplanned, see how you make it planned at the end of the day. See how you can conclude with business. Okay, capturing the elicitation outcome helps to ensure that the information produced during elicitation activities is recorded for later reference and use. And you can capture this when either you record or you use your collaborative tools. As a business is telling you, okay, we need this, we need that. You are either typing it on Excel, on SharePoint, or you're using Miro or Asana or whatever. Even you can even like guide your stakeholders in such a way that the first two sections you capture, and then other sections you can lead them into, okay, this is how you do it. Give them some time, they can go into those collaborative tools and impute whatever they feel. Okay, then you can go in and filter, clean it up, and have those sections. Depends on how you want it. So for guidelines and tools, business analysis approach, this influences how each elicitation activity is performed, as it identifies the types of outputs that will be needed based on the approach. Remember, when it comes to gathering requirements or doing your elicitation, it is quite different from what you have in Agile and what you have in Waterfall. Okay, so existing business analysis information may guide the questions posed during elicitation and the approach used to draw out information from various stakeholders. Stakeholder engagement approach provides collaboration and communication approaches that might be effective during elicitation. Supporting materials include any materials to prepare both the business analyst and participant before elicitation, as well as any information tools or equipment to be used during elicitation. Techniques: benchmarking and market analysis, used as a source of business analysis information by comparing a specific process, system, product, service, or structure with some external baseline, such as a similar organization or baseline provided by an industry association. Market analysis is used to determine what customers want and what competitors provide. So benchmarking is like looking at a particular maybe industry and be like, okay, we have that quality there, or we can see what they are doing there, and you benchmark, like you be like, okay, let's target or let's aim this towards this. Then market analyst going to the market, knowing what customers want actually, and know how you can provide that. Brainstorming, used to generate many ideas from a group of stakeholders in a short period and to organize and prioritize those ideas. Business rules analysis, used to identify the rules that govern decisions in an organization and that define, constraint, or enable organizational operations. Collaborative games, used to develop a better understanding of a problem or to stimulate creative solutions. Concept modeling, used to identify key terms and ideas of importance and define the relationships between them. Data mining, used to identify relevant information and patterns. Data modeling, used to understand an entity relationship during elicitation. Document analysis, used to review existing systems, contract, business procedures, and policy standards and regulations. Focus groups, used to identify and understand ideas and attitudes from a group. Interface analysis, used to understand the interaction and characteristics of that interaction between two entities, such as two systems, two organizations, or two people or roles. Interviews, used to ask questions of stakeholders to uncover needs, identify problems, or discover opportunities. Mind mapping, used to generate many ideas from a group of stakeholders in a short period and to organize and prioritize those ideas. Observation, used to gain insight about how work is currently done, possibly in different locations and in different circumstances. Process analysis, used to understand current process and to identify opportunities for improvement in those processes. Process modeling, used to elicit processes with stakeholders during elicitation activities. Prototyping, used to elicit and validate stakeholders' needs through an iterative process that creates a model of requirement or designs. Survey or questionnaire, used to elicit business analysis information, including information about customers, products, work practices, and attitudes from a group of people in a structured way and in a relatively short period of time. Workshops, used to elicit business analysis information, including information about customers, products, work practices, and attitudes from a group of people in a collaborative, facilitated way. Stakeholders. Who are your stakeholders here? Customer will provide valuable business analysis information during elicitation. Your domain subject matter expert has expertise in some aspects of the situation and can provide the required business analysis information, often guides and assists the business analyst in identifying appropriate research sources and may help to arrange research experiments and facilitated elicitation. End user, the user of existing and future solutions who should participate in elicitation. Implementation subject matter expert designs and implements a solution and provides specialist expertise and can participate in elicitation by asking clarifying questions and offering alternatives. Sponsor authorizes and ensures that the stakeholder necessary to participate in elicitation are involved. Any stakeholders could have relevant knowledge or experience to participate in elicitation activity. And what is your output here? It is your elicitation result, but it is unconfirmed, captured information in a format that is specific to the elicitation activity. And we are done here. The next line of action will be to go into confirm elicitation result. And thank you so much for being with us till now. See you soon.